Give us 10 minutes and we will help you identify every single leader you have ever worked for.
Welcome to It Doesn't Take a Genius.
Ramsey!
Marshall. Third time's the charm. We've been trying to record this episode multiple times, but I think we're there. The audio sounds good now.
Oh, yeah. And don't think that we're self-editing. We were at least 7 seconds into every take
Yeah, that's right.
before we bailed on
100%
that
true.
take. Yeah.
Well, but you couldn't tell from your side, but from my speakers I could, and I just had to interrupt you because it was going to be a terrible episode. I had to give you some radical candor about what I was hearing.
Oh, and I know you gave me that feedback because you care.
100%.
Uh,
100%. Hey,
Oh, yes. Good segue. Yeah.
let's talk about Kim Scott.
Yes, and here's something real controversial that nobody will want to hear, but it may be freak him out. But Kim Scott wrote the book Radical Candor, and I've read the book and I've listened to her, and I highly advise reading the book. Her voice, it just, it hurts. It hurts
Well,
my
there's
ear.
some candor.
Yeah, I just want to be candor and if Kim was here, I'd tell her like, love your content. I think you're on a wonderful mission to change how people perceive leadership and how they can get better as leaders. But your voice, your voice is killing me.
Well,
So,
I will say, I can't remember her story is fascinating. And I can't remember if it's actually in the book, where she talks about um, the moment of feedback at Google where somebody told her, I can tell I'm going to have to, I think it was Sheryl Sandberg told her, I'm going to have to be more, I can tell I'm going to have to be more blunt with you. You sound stupid because of how you're talking. And
right, yeah, pulled her aside and
yeah,
told her, yeah, in the meetings, yeah, you're diminishing your credibility. You sound stupid
yeah,
by the way you present yourself.
yeah.
Uh,
Huh?
which was truly appreciated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right,
All
right.
right, so let's dive into her idea. It affirms everything that we've been teaching and talking about for the last, I don't know, 25 years.
Yep.
It's one of those things where you're like, dang it, I should have drawn this model. Right? I've been talking about this forever. So every great business book has a 2 by 2 model. All right,
Hmm.
so you got 4 boxes, right?
Yep.
And so
An x-axis and a y-axis.
yeah, you got to have it, right? You can't like I don't even think they'll publish your business book without it. It's just required. So so the idea of the axis, so imagine on the vertical axis is care.
Hmm.
Genuinely caring about the people who, you as a leader genuinely care about the people who report to you. On the horizontal axis, you've got challenge, right? Candid feedback,
Yep.
right? We call this model when we were talking about it was care and candor.
Right.
That yeah, you've got high care, high candor, and other variations of this according to the model. So we'll start with the one that probably the majority of our clients suffer from, or at least that's my opinion. We'll see what you think. And that is, I want you to picture, and I want you to imagine the leaders that you've worked for in your life. And this is for our listeners, both of you. So think about a leader you had that was high care, but low challenge.
Hmm.
All right, low candor. So they cared, they loved you, they thought the world of you, but they just didn't always tell you what you needed to know in order to be better, to be successful.
Right. Yeah, I think you're right. I think actually most people in our day and age suffer from this one because we're conflict averse in our culture. That's the issue, right? I had actually had a pastor that I knew back in college who had gone to an event to help him sort of better understand what blacks in America are going through, and so it was a majority black event. He was white, and they did some things to sort of shake him up a little bit. And one of the things he came back saying was that they would say to him, "White people are so nice." they're just so nice, which was not a compliment, right? It was like, you're not telling me the truth. You're just saying things that seem nice and keep things surface, but you never go deep and let me know what's really going on.
Mhm.
And so when we say nice, we're saying, you know, too nice, like fake nice, sugar coated.
Right. Well, and Kim has a wonderful term for this box, this high care, low challenge. She calls it ruinous empathy.
Exactly.
And empathy is a good thing. We want empathy, but empathy, like everything taken too far, can be ruinous, according to her title. And I think she's right. Right. The idea of, excuse me, the idea and what I hear most frequently from managers is, right, I haven't told them how they're actually doing because I don't want to hurt their feelings. I'm afraid of how they'll respond if I tell them the truth about how they're doing, right? If their performance
Right.
isn't up to standards or not meeting expectations, things like that. So I don't want to hurt their feelings. I'm afraid of dealing with those feelings, right? How many times have we had managers go, I know if I tell them how they're really doing, they're gonna cry.
Yeah.
I can't deal with crying.
Well, and I think that's we're going to get into this as we go through the model, but I think that's part of what's going on is, do you really care? Right? Because if you really did care, you'd be willing to sit through the emotion or uh, 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 do the brave thing and say something that might cause somebody else to react negatively, right? It's funny because some of the manliest men are the ones who actually struggle with this. Like they just can't handle, to another man. Like it has nothing to do with like, I don't want to hurt that young lady's feelings. It's like they just don't want to go there and do things that cause them to raise their hand and own their perspective on what they're seeing with another person. Too rich for their blood. And so they'd rather just sort of keep it nice, we're just going to let them keep trying. We'll get there, and give them some time. But you've never told them anything. You've never told
Right.
them the issue that is the problem. So, yeah, ruinous empathy. It's
Oh
it's
yeah.
it
Well,
might be empathy, but it's ruinous.
and there's a time factor here. In the short run, it
Yeah,
feels nice and wonderful and comfortable. In the
yeah,
long run is the ruinous part.
that's right.
Yeah, this person never grows, they never get better. They remain ignorant of the issues and they don't do anything different, right? How many times have we heard that? Like, well, he's not changing, he's not growing. Well, have you told him?
Yep,
Well, no, he should just naturally,
right. Somehow he should know
organically.
by now.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, yeah, it's the classic relationship. Yeah, yeah. Why are you mad? Well, you should just know.
Right.
Like, no, I have no clue. Right. So, all right. So if you're as you're listening, right, you've probably pictured that person, right? I've worked for some of those folks. And they are wonderful people, but they're not helping me
Right.
as a team member. All right, so let's go to the next box. We've got low care, low challenge.
Yeah.
So I
Failing
don't,
on both counts.
yeah, yeah, I don't care. I don't care about you, and I don't care to tell you about how you're doing. Right. So this is the people, right, right? You can identify this as when the manager's talking about a team member to another manager. I hate that guy. He's not getting anything done. Right. I can't stand him. And but they've never told the person,
Right.
right, on either point. Right. That yeah, you're not performing up to par and yeah, I don't feel like we're getting along or that we're communicating or vibing or whatever the kids say nowadays. So so yeah, I had this example. I was in a meeting. There was three managers, and then the manager's boss, and the three managers were all talking about this one employee. It went on for like 20 minutes, right? He's
Yep.
rude. He's mean to customers. The other team members don't like him. Blah, 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 just yeah, yeah, he gets some numbers, but the way he gets them is not aligned with our culture. Blah, blah, just when I was listening and listening, and finally I was like, hey, this is a fantastic conversation. But as Michael Bungay Stainer says, I think we're coaching the ghost. Uh,
Right.
right, they're not here. And so then I asked this question: has any one of the three of you told this person these things? Huh? What? No. Yeah, no. So literally there was, think about how much money had been spent in
Right.
manager time just discussing this person behind their back. Right.
Yeah.
So Kim Scott, she calls ruinous empathy front stabbing. She calls manipulative insincerity backstabbing.
Right.
Yeah, to your face, I'm polite, nice, but behind your back, yeah, I don't like you, and I don't think you're doing a good job.
And you'll know if you're part of the leadership team, you'll know this one because people might have a pretty good feel for you as a leader, and it's you say all the right things, and then behind closed doors the mask comes off. I've had this happen several times where the general manager of a business is well liked and he's charming and so on and so forth, but then when there's negative feedback from the team behind closed doors, the mask comes off and they're like, this pisses me off. This really pisses me off because we do this and this and this. And nope, they've never actually told anybody, what they want to change, but they're only willing to say that in private. So that's how you know it's insincere, manipulative insincerity.
Oh yeah, so now um, you get instead of ignorance, you get mistrust.
Yeah,
So and you get no change. So on both sides of this, right, with the low challenge, you get no change. But now I get mistrust because people have a sense when people are talking behind their backs, when they know that, yeah, something's going on,
yep,
that they're not getting the whole truth, things like that. So all of a sudden, yeah, questions start to come in about, trust and do I believe what my manager's saying? They say this, but I'm not seeing it in their behaviors, maybe, and things like that.
yeah.
So
Eventually, the mask comes off.
oh yeah, yeah. It just bursts out, and it may burst out in the form of the next box. So now we're in the lower right hand corner, and so we've got high challenge, right? Incredible candor, right?
Yep,
I'm telling them how it is, what I think, but low care.
yep,
I don't like this person. I don't care for this person. But I'm going to tell them everything that they need to know and need to be doing. And sometimes that comes across as, think of it as, bullying.
yep.
Sometimes it comes across as contempt, arrogance. Um, it's the yell and tell model, is how we most frequently see this.
I
Uh,
think of House, the TV show about the doctor who's a genius but has zero empathy. And he's always, he gets away with it because he's saving lives, right? And they put up with his jerk mentality. And of course, for the show to survive, eventually they had to show that actually he had a heart and he suffered, and there's all this backstory. But you know, on the surface, if you were the average, nurse working in his unit, you know, you'd just barely put up with it. You'd try to get away from it as fast as possible if that was what you were having to deal with, right? That the whatever you were bringing to the table would only be enough for so long if you really didn't care about anybody around you, right?
oh yeah, yeah. Eventually, as with this one, right? People stop listening.
Yep,
And back to our timeline, you get change, but it's short-term change,
yep,
right? People will do, they'll do what you're yelling at them about as long as you're yelling and watching them. And as soon as you look away, they'll quit,
it's
right?
over.
They'll quit doing whatever it is that you've asked them to do.
Yep.
Kim has a wonderful name for this box.
Uh,
This one's probably the most self-explanatory. She calls it obnoxious aggression. I go, okay, right. So,
Yep.
and if you think about it, you could make the move, right? So I'm up here in the high care, low challenge, ruinous empathy, and at some point, we've said this before. If you don't talk it out, you will act it out.
Right.
And so at some point, right, I'm empathetic to the point, and but your performance just, it creates such a mess. I save it up, and then I make my move to obnoxious aggression. Like, I don't care about you anymore. Here's what you're doing. It's terribly detrimental, or it's keeping us from hitting our numbers, whatever it might be, and
Yeah.
they just go off. And a lot of times everything comes out all at once. So you get
Right.
yeah, you get all this stuff, right? And I've never liked your shirts.
Yeah.
And I hate that where you park your car because it's next to the customer. And
I
like
mean, I think some of that is because you have been building it up in your head for so long, right?
Mhm.
But again, you need to remember that when you finally open up and let this person have it with both barrels, this is brand new news to them. It is
Yeah.
brand new news to them. So this now you really are the villain, right? You really are, whatever that you think that they've done. We've talked about villains and victims before. Whatever you think that they've done, they were clueless. We're going to do a podcast about this very soon about intentions. It's not like they were trying to screw you over, but now here you are cussing and screaming at them and bringing up all these things from the past. Well, now they know who you really are, right? You are the villain officially. You've just painted yourself that way. So again, that timeline goes both ways, right?
Mhm. Oh yeah. Yeah, and the person doesn't, they have no prioritization because you have no prioritization as the leader, so they don't even know which
That's
thing
right.
is the most, of all these things that you've listed, I've, been underperforming at or doing that are annoying. I don't even know which one to address first because,
Had no
so
idea that that was the
so
issue.
and most people when attacked, right, they go into amygdala hijack.
Hmm.
So it's either fight, flight, or freeze. And and we'll ask managers, all right, so you kind of blew up on this guy, how did they respond? And they'll say, well, they got back in my face, all right, the fight, the
Yep.
flight thing, they just kind of agreed and just tried to leave the room,
Yeah.
right? Or the freeze part of it, they just stood there staring at me and really
Yep.
didn't say much.
Vapor lock.
Yeah, they locked up. So yeah, fight, flight, or freeze came in because of this obnoxious aggression.
So
All right.
I will say that almost happened to me once in a role play. I was trying to help a service manager understand, like how he was coming across because he was showing me what he did, and he was just, like getting really intense and right in somebody's face, like, "Yeah, come on, you got to get this and this and this." And I said, "Okay, cool. Can you mind if we role play that? Could we reverse roles and you be the employee?" And I took one step and got in his face and got one sentence out, and he spun around in a circle, like had to do a walk, and he laughed at himself. And I was like, "What's wrong?" Or I guess I said, "What's funny?" He goes, "I almost punched you just now." And so that was the day that I survived, getting knocked out. But let me add one item before we go to the final one, the sweet spot. And I want to go back to manipulative insincerity. That person. How did you say it? Don't care and don't care to challenge. I love that.
Yeah.
But there's a Bible verse that paints that picture. It says, "Profuse are the kisses of an enemy." It's a proverb. Profuse are the kisses of an enemy, right? Enemy's
Right.
good at kissing you. But the verse actually begins. It's the whole proverb is faithful are the wounds of a friend, and
Mhm.
profuse are the kisses of an enemy. So that takes us to this faithful friend who's willing to wound you, right? Which is the final zone here. High care, high challenge.
Yeah. So yeah, we're up in that upper right hand corner where all the good stuff is typically found on your, on your cool business model, your 2x2 grid. The and this one I think was most disappointing to me based upon the name. And so we've got high care and high challenge. And Kim, as is the title of her book, calls this radical candor,
Hmm.
right? When you care deeply and you're willing to challenge people to be more and do more.
Yeah.
And I think it's the word radical that just irritates me to no end. I'm like, radical? No, this should just be like what we do. This should be
Yeah,
normal. Like this should be normal care and
right.
candor. Just, average. Like the fact that it's rare enough that, she calls it radical tells you how much work we have to do in this field. And the idea
Yep,
that you can let somebody know, I care deeply for you. I care about your personal and professional success.
yep,
Because of that, I need to share with you something that's going to be hard to hear.
yeah. And
Oh
and
man.
this has been, you said that this should just be normal, and it shows how much work we have to do. That's really all I think about when when I read Crucial Conversations, and when we talk about this book
Mhm.
and various other systems and guides we've had over the years. This really is biblical. Like this was how it was supposed to happen. In Bible times, let alone in the modern information economy. Jesus said, if your brother sins against you, go and tell him his fault uh, between you and him alone. Like
Yeah.
even there, we're saying, I care about you, and this isn't meant to publicly embarrass you. I want us to get right about the thing that's happened that I need to be truthful with you about. Um, Psalm 85:10, one of my favorite verses, and we've talked about it before. Mercy and truth are met together. Righteousness and peace have kissed each other. And that idea that they have to be together, there has to be a uniting of the two, or none of this makes any sense from God's perspective, of what God is like, even. And then in the New Testament, Paul has some letters where he says, speak the truth in love. It's those two together again. He has a whole letter to the Galatians where he he's obviously speaking out of love and how much he cares for them, and they're falling into a dangerous religious practice that's going to eventually just destroy their church. And so he builds up to this moment where he just literally says, "You foolish Galatians," and yells at them about the dangerous road they're on. This is an old concept, to be mixing care and candor, to be mixing truth and love. So the fact that we struggle with it, yep, it's called humanity, right? Like this is something that all of us struggle with, and we need to be. We started our podcast talking about you can identify your leaders this way. Guess what? Newsflash. Where are you in the four-part grid, right? That's the question.
Oh, wait, I got to do some reflection.
Right.
I hate this. Yeah, I'm gonna go watch some cat videos.
Right.
Yeah, you didn't tell me I was gonna have to look
Keep
inward.
scrolling.
Yeah, scroll. Maybe there's a time-lapse video of a building imploding. Yeah,
Right.
I'll watch that. Yeah, these guys they're challenging me. Yeah, because they care.
Yeah.
So yeah, wonderful how many times this appears, in biblical writings, and a modern version of that would be that saying that a good friend will tell you what you want to hear.
Yep.
A great friend will tell you what you need to hear.
That's right.
And letting something go on too long that ultimately is detrimental to this person. How in the world is that caring?
Right.
If you
Right.
cared, you tell him, right? This needs to change. This is going to get you in trouble, or this is, holding you back, or
Yep.
whatever it might be. And it could be, something that's a huge change. It could be something as simple as you got some broccoli on your tooth.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, like before you go into your next meeting, take care of that. So and Kim does a nice job here of talking about, right, this is the only way to get long-term transformational change. Right,
Yeah.
the low challenge gets you no change. The high challenge, low care gets you short-term change.
Yeah.
the high care, high challenge will get you fundamental long-lasting change.
Yep.
And so if you truly want something to be better and help the person be better, this is how it's done. She also goes into a great deal of conversation about role modeling this,
Yeah.
right? So asking for feedback,
Yep.
questions like, all right, so tell me how I can best lead you. What do you
Yeah.
need from me in order to reach your goals? Right. So
Yep.
your role model, I'm asking for feedback on how I'm doing so that when the tables are turned and you as a leader, right, ideally the team member, right, your most enlightened team members will ask you, all right, so what do I need to be doing? What am I doing
Yep.
that's not, working for the company? What do I not see?
Yep.
Right. You know, and if they're not, then you have to go down that path. But it's easier to go down the path if you have role modeled that, yeah, feedback is a good thing and receiving
Yeah.
feedback is positive.
And another question like that we can steal from Chris Hunsicker, who we've had as a guest on this show twice.
Mhm.
Chris says, ask very informally, shoulder to shoulder, during a break or whatever, not in a very serious meeting, but just say, "Let me ask you, what could I be doing more or less of as your leader?"
Mhm.
And you're just continuing to mine for everything you can, pump for all you're worth, and then of course how you react to said feedback is
Mhm.
is the tell, right? Like thank you for the feedback, asking follow up questions and so on. I think that's a big part of this. Another thing that might be worth considering if this is all new to you is maybe you've been putting it off and that's what you're thinking about as you listen to this episode. It would be wonderful to start that conversation sooner rather than later. And obviously, it isn't soon enough to undo the damage of you not bringing this up to the person. But what you can do is start that conversation with, "Hey, I owe you an apology. There's something I should have told you a long time ago. And for whatever reason, I haven't been willing to share it, but I know that it's for your best interest and I need to do it. Can I give you some feedback?"
Mhm.
Start that conversation apologetically. Again, being self-reflective, being somebody who's trying to be transparent and vulnerable about what you're struggling with at the start of that conversation, so that they know that this isn't, that moment where you're going off on them and they're saying, "Whoa, where's this coming from?" At least they're going to get the knowledge that there is a timeline that's come before this moment. It's just a timeline of you being silent. So, apologize at the start. Let that be part of the conversation too.
Mhm. Well, yeah, and as I'm listening to us and listening to other managers, you're like, there's a lot to leadership.
Yeah,
Like,
leadership's
wow.
hard.
Yeah, this is, it is lonely at the top.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, because
yeah,
I've got to care and then I've got to care enough to have difficult conversations.
yep,
Man, yeah, that's rough.
yes, it is.
Right. So the idea of what to adjust. So So if I'm giving feedback and the person I see that they're becoming upset or sad or whatever, then I can adjust, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe okay, I've given them some tough feedback, and now I see they're not taking it well. I need to move up on the care quotient, right? I need to
Yeah,
talk about more care. Maybe I care and I give them feedback and I receive indifference.
yeah,
Well, now I've got to ramp up the challenge,
yep,
make sure that they understand that what we're talking about is important and it does matter and they need to take it seriously. So I ramp the care down, the challenge up.
yep.
So you're gauging and adjusting in the conversation. All right, which of these axes do I need more of in order for us to get to the change that needs to occur?
Well said. Well said. Well, um, yeah. So that's the start of this. Is ask yourself, does this person feel my care? Does this person get what I'm saying? Am I clear? And that gets you to radical candor if you can say yes to both. So there we are. I think we're at probably a little over 10 minutes, but it's got to be close, right? That's what we promised.
Oh yeah, 11 tops. 11 minutes, easy. The All right, let's wrap this thing up, put a bow on it. Good stuff. A little self-reflection. Let us know how it goes. If you'd like to discuss it one-on-one with Mark or I, reach down into the show notes so you'll find our email addresses. Hit subscribe, hit that thumbs up button, and we'll keep having this conversation.
And that's a wrap. The musings of Mark and Mike. No rights reserved, etc. Feel free to share and discuss what you heard today. Even claim the ideas as your own. Who'd want to do that? See you next time on It Doesn't Take a Genius. Thanks.
That's good enough.